Biden has unveiled a handful of names that are gonna be his cabinet picks. Does he think that any of them actually appeal to progressives? I could tell you, but Jake Tapper actually asked Kamala Harris what she thought about it, and her answer is perhaps the most telling of them all.
Last month, Senator Bernie Sanders told the Associated Press it would be, quote, enormously insulting if your cabinet, the Biden-Harris cabinet, ignored progressive voices. Who would you point to now as a leading progressive voice in the cabinet?
Well, we're not done yet, Jake. So we're not even halfway there. So I think that we should have this conversation when we're done. But
is another interview offer you're making? Because I'll take it.
Do you consider yourself a progressive?
No.
Department of Homeland Security.
Homeland Security?
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
He's a progressive.
Yeah, and there's a number of progressives that are.
So we have that. Okay, that was just an amazingly telling everything about that. But Nando, what did you see in that response?
First of all, there was a sort of miscommunication between Kamala and Jake Tapper. She misunderstood his joke, where he was like, "Oh, this is another interview." Because she's like, "No." She thought he was talking about interviewing for the cabinet. He's like, "No, I want you to." Anyway, misunderstanding. But this is what losing looks like. The left lost and they won. And they drink our milkshake, and they are going to appoint their people. They're not going to appoint our people ever. This was never going to happen. There is no leverage. There is no in our system. There is no mechanism for a sort of coalition within a broader coalition to exert power. We can't walk away and they're gonna collapse like you would in a parliamentary system. So it was never gonna be a progressive cabinet, and it's just not gonna be. So this Kamala really funny, just wait till you see who the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is. He is as left as they come. He is he's a very own Karl Marx. This guy, no, this.
And it's Eric Garcetti.
Right, yeah, he's woof. He was he dated a communist Frenchie when he went abroad in college. Yeah, man, he is a progressive. No, yeah, I'm not holding my breath because they were never gonna do it, and they won't. So, yeah, that's just the reality of the situation, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, for me, he asked the question and there was a silence.
Yeah, it's how do they not prepare an answer?
Oh, dude, this morning I was watching CNN. That's when I first saw the clip. And I know that our head of programming sent it to me last night. I just didn't see it till this morning. So sorry, Judith. But essentially I saw it on CNN. And the way it was pitched was there's questions about diversity in Biden's cabinet. And they play that clip. They play the first one where they're talking about this is the most, we want it to look like America, and there's diversity. And then they cut to this moment. And I was like, well, that's the most interesting thing because they don't have an answer for it. And then the host just goes on and completely ignores that happened during the interview. And yes, she was talking with Angela Rye, who has a career that's more focused on diversity as it's conventionally understood. But I think that points out something else that's wrong with cable news in general. The reason that they didn't focus on the progressive part of that interview with Jake Tapper is because there's no progressive on those shows ever to be able to do that.
It's very shocking. It's you would think that from a cold capitalist point of view, they would at least have a few people on CNN who could speak to for example, the overwhelming majority of voters under 40, who support kind of very broad left policies. Yeah, no one on CNN, not a single person. They have all manner of national security ghouls who no one cares about. No one cares about what the former undersecretary of the Department of National Security for Western Hemispheric Affairs has to say about whatever the hell is going on in the news these days. That's just, but they have tons of those guys. They would never ever hire a proper, progressive to be on there regularly. It's just outside of it doesn't even exist in their horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. It is wildly wildly frustrating. And they had like Alexandra Rojas on there during the campaigns. But I'll tell you why, man. And we say this, it's been said on the show, but now I have like a little, this is too much information, but I have like a little thing in my shower where I can put my phone and watch TV while I'm like getting ready in the morning. And so I get to watch CNN at the same time every day. And I saw this today. And at the same
while you were scrubbing your pits.
Well, I'm just washing 2020 off of my body, singing in the bathtub. So I'm doing that. But here's what happens every day at the same time. It's commercials about Medicare expansions, supplemental Medicare stuff. It is all pharmaceutical ads. And for the last week, it's been CEOs of major pharmacies talking about, and companies talking about how they are going to execute the distribution of the vaccine. And it's like, thank you so much, CVS, for your service. So when you make points about whether they're gonna have like progressive voices in there to bring it to the like CNN demos attention that most Americans actually do agree with the policy, like Medicare for all, they're not gonna, I think that is the financial motivation not to. They have John Kasich on there, and I saw John Kasich every time he's on there, he mispronounces green. He missays Green New Deal is New Green Deal, and he does it on purpose.
John Kasich, who spoke at the DNC and is now part of the resistance. It drives me crazy. Like it really does. It's so bleak in that sense that and it brings up an interesting question because cable news, we hate it, but it was shown in the primary and in the election cycle that it really does kind of drive the narrative in a lot of the politics that happen in this country, and really like even if like a certain number of people are like a smallish number of people are actually watching at any given moment, then that narrative kind of permeates down, trickles down, so to speak, to other kind of sources that people consume, whether it's on social media or whatever, and it really did have a major effect, and we are completely shut out from that. We're just completely shut out. And what do we do about that? Like, what is there to be done? I mean, obviously there's like TYT, independent voices, but like, do we have access to the Death Star? No, we're not. We don't have access to the Death Star. We're not invited to those parties.
We have access to the Death Star. We're all on the take from George Soros. Don't you understand? That's what's so frustrating is we get all the negative sides of being accused of having these giant corporate donors, but none of the benefits of that actually being the case. Here's what Bernie Sanders said that Joe Biden that they were asked about. This is the full quote. It seems to me pretty clear that progressive views need to be expressed within a Biden administration. It would be, for example, enormously insulting if Biden put together a quote team of rivals. And there's some discussion that's what he intends to do, which might include Republicans and conservative Democrats, but which ignored the progressive community. I think that would be very, very unfortunate. There was an article in Politico that kind of outlined the progressive reaction to Biden's appointees so far. Someone that it seems from Biden's reaction when he jumps in is like, no. We've got
who's that Hispanic guy I got at Homeland Security? What was his name again?
Yeah, I got him. I forget his name. I deleted it by accident. Alejandro Mayorkas. I got that guy. Yeah, it's fine. I got it. That's it. Question answered. But here's how they respond. This is a Political article. Anthony Blinken, a quote solid choice for Secretary of State, according to Faz Shakir, Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign manager. Alexandra Rojas from Justice Democrats said she's encouraged that Biden tapped John Kerry as his international climate czar. Elizabeth Warren said Janet Yellen, Biden's expected nominee for Treasury Secretary, would be outstanding. And I know there were a lot. I mean, that's true. Here's the next is from a progressive strategist, Rebecca Katz, who said it could have been a lot worse. He's not picking any lefties. He's just picking people who haven't alienated the left, who are listening. But and I think she's accurately appraising the situation. I think that was her intent, was just to say, listen, he hasn't yet said that what's his name, Rahm Emanuel is in charge of it. It's looming. And he just is actively picking people who haven't alienated the left. And to the point,
like Garrett Tandon. My God, like just like she on the front line of the centrist Democrat war against the left. She is the frontline soldier. She is, storming no man's land. That is, I mean, here's what kind of I find sort of very. I mean, I understand that Bernie and they have to play nice at a certain point. They don't want to be completely frozen out. They want to have some degree of influence, and I get that why they're playing nice. But what drives me crazy is that Democrats. It's very likely that Joe Biden will nominate a Republican to be in his cabinet in some way. Obama nominated Republicans. Bob Gates was a Republican. He was the Secretary of Defense that Obama nominated in 2008. It is literally unimaginable for any Republican to nominate even the most conservative Democrat to their cabinet. Like, can you imagine like a president? Rubio nominating whoever, Chuck Schumer to be his Secretary of Treasury or whatever. Like, it's so unimaginable. They would never do that ever in their lives because they know that American politics is polarized and that it is a war and that you have to, like, there is no negotiating with terrorists, that you don't get any brownie points for putting in like the sort of soft Republican in there. You get 0 brownie points for that. And it's just, it just drives me crazy that they constantly think they can do that. Like this, a team of rivals, which, that phrase has to be retired once and for all, forever. But yeah, I mean, it speaks to the asymmetry in American politics which is one of the reasons why we keep drifting further and further to the right. We have this insane frothing at the mouth far right party that understands naked raw use of power, and then we have this center right party, the Democrats, who don't understand anything about power and just constantly think that they can placate the terrorists on the right, and they cannot, and they will never will, and they just keep their Charlie Brown, trying to kick the football, and it keeps getting pulled away.
And just the final little bit of this. This is so sad. Alexi McCammon writes in Axios, some progressives tell Axios they believe the window for influencing President-elect Biden's cabinet selections is closed, and they're shifting focus to policy, hoping to shape Biden's agenda even before he's sworn in. So the question is, he said, according to Bernie and Biden himself, he kind of wants to be the next FDR. So let's push policies that help that, whether that will ever happen, as the Democrats prove their fecklessness in negotiating the middle ground in a way that is materially actually middle ground. It remains to be seen.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.